And now have a look at how he's technically gone about this here. He's popped that Unite move, but he has used his skills while the Unite move gives him an enhanced damage. In today's video, we're going to go over why Overlord is the best top laner in the entire world, why he absolutely dominates even at the best of best levels. So we're going to have a look at his macro decisions. We're going to have a look at how he approaches team fights. And ultimately, what's really going to be hard to explain is how he's so technically sound with the character. Now, first things first, have a look at where the priorities are. He's using his skills to get the secure on the farm. He's not really interested in the fight if the farm's there for securing. He pushes a fight to make sure he can put pressure on the enemy. Ultimately, Overlord understands if you die, you don't get any farm. And you need that farm to get that level up. You need that farm to stay in the game. You need that farm to make sure you can get your evolutions, to get those skills online, so you can get the experience lead. That's the aim of the game. Now have a look what Overlord does here. He casts his skill into the bush and gets the secure. He knew the enemies were in there and he knew they dragged the farm in there. He had no idea what the health of the farm was at, but he used his skill because it had the highest chance of securing that bit of farm. That means it's going to give him more experience than his enemies if he's able to get the secure. You can call it luck, but you got to be in it to win it. And have a look at how he approaches this first kind of, I guess it's a mini objective here at these birds. He looks to push the enemy back so they take none of the experience. When they're pushed far enough back, he doesn't waste any time and he goes straight back onto that farm because he knows that that farm is sacred resource. He wants it in his hands and not the enemy. And then when they decide to overextend, he's able to get the kill. And look, he knows when to score and when to stop fighting the enemy. He knows that I'm not going to waste time killing this Comfey on base. I'm going to utilize this time to get my stacks in early game because he's killed the enemy. The enemy has dropped the money. Honestly, if this Comfey was playing as best as they could, they probably would have picked up all the money on the ground. But anyway, Overlord's able to leverage that situation and he knows when to back out. Have a look at that. He didn't want to contest any risky farm there. Even on that extra bunny, he was able to try and get some contest, but ultimately never overextending for a bit of farm. Now, I know some people are going to say, oh, look at the amount of team mates he's got up helping him out in this lane. Overlord puts himself in a position where he is able to waste the enemy time. He buys the time of his team so they can do what they need to do to eventually come into the top lane. If he had died, his team wasn't going to be coming up there because guess what? He's dead and the enemy are getting a lot of value, right? So why would the enemy go up there when they've got an extra number for at least your team has one less number? Now, Overlord here gets his level 9 and he looks to rotate down for the objective. He's won his lane early. He's played that top lane absolutely perfectly. And now have a look at how he's technically gone about this here. He's popped that Unite move, but he has used his skills while the Unite move gives him an enhanced damage increase on his character. And then after that, he uses those skills to line himself up with the enemy. So he's going to get the most value out of launching off that Unite move. Absolutely insane play. His team's able to hold the fort. And that's the value out of winning your top lane as well as you can, guys, because you're able to come down and give that bottom lane the value that you have added to the top lane. So now he gets the kills, he's cleaned up the enemy, and he's able to help his team rip. Now I'm going to just point out, have a look at how often he's panning over the map. He's always looking at where the enemy is and where his team is and where everybody's positioned. Right? He's so well skilled at knowing where he is on the map that he's just panning over to see what the enemy's up to. How close is that farm being secured by my teammate or by the enemy? Where am I? Can I make it there in time? He's always panning to and across the farm and to and across where the enemies are at objectives. This is one thing that honestly separates good players from really, really top tier players, right? It's that map awareness and having a look at, okay, where are the enemy? He's panned over, he sees it's broken. He knows not to dive in there without knowing that his team's going to be able to back him up there. Again, he's gone in, he's tried to attack that Slowbro there. He knows he's got some backup from the Sableye, and he's got that Unite move to rip out insane damage. Again, he has got the experience lead here. He's level 12. He's level 12 and it's 5 minutes 30 and he is the top laner. This is what we mean by get ahead and stay ahead. Okay, now at this point, I think what Overlord's trying to do is put some pressure on the enemy, but I'm going to explain to you why he died here. He died because the Glaceon united, sure, but the Glaceon X attacked. That's a lot of damage. And honestly, Overlord was probably in a position to be able to escape because he had the mobility to get out through the enemy jungle. But unfortunately, the X attack was just able to do enough damage with the Slowbro Scald as well. So, you know, unfortunate there, but still in a very, very solid position here. As you saw, he's got 11 kills. That's halfway through the game. And he's also got the Cross Chop Plus, which means that he's going to be able to get that attack stat just online. You can see in that bottom right corner, each time he uses a basic attack, that's going to increase his attack stat permanently by 2. So think of that as like an extra attack weight on top of his attack weight, and he's got it stacking at this point in the game already. So he's an absolute force to be reckoned with, right? And you can see such a threat that the Slowbro sees the Machamp and he thinks, I have got to slow this Machamp down, right? Unfortunately, I think he goes back in with Cross Chop. Might have been a little bit of snapback there because it didn't really make sense to go back in and engage on such low health against a Slowbro that was pretty much on full health. So I'm just going to assume that was probably snapback there because honestly, it does happen, especially when you're adopting these all-around top lane roles. Now, this play right here pretty much just explains why he is the best player in the world at this particular role. Look at how he's panning over the map. He's propped that Unite move so he gets that extra damage, and he recognizes who his priority kill targets are, which is that Inteleon. Okay, so he goes after that Inteleon, and then he realizes that the enemy's trying to rip that objective, and he positions himself perfectly, absolutely perfectly, so that when he launches that Unite move, those ticks of damage are going to be hitting the objective. And then not only that, he's actually able to get away from a Comfey and a Scizor, right? Because he's got the mobility, so he has maneuvered himself and positioned in such a way to get out alive. It's those kinds of plays, guys, that make him the best, right? And so what teaches that? I don't know. Maybe just be cracked at the game, have really good awareness, constantly be scanning around on your screen. You can't teach that, right? That is just being technically skilled with the character. You can have as good macro understanding, but what makes Overlord the best is he is able to do stuff like that in game. Now, let's just talk about this minute prior the Rayquaza. What do we think the priorities are at this stage? You've got a minute left, you're level 14.5, and there's a Regieleki active. What do you think the priorities are here? Well, first one is get that Unite move. That's probably just going to happen passively. The second one would be, I want to make sure I'm probably level 15, right? Because that power spike from level 14 to level 15 is absolutely huge. I also want to put some pressure and do some rip onto that Regieleki because I know my team's coming up to support me. And if their team is out of position, then I'm able to get some kills onto them. Now, he knows to back out when his team's overcommitted, so he doesn't die, and refocus on getting to that level 15, right? Which is one of his priorities. He doesn't defend that Regieleki. He lets it walk in because he knows that ripping it at 2 minutes 10 is a complete waste of time. And look at how he's panning over the map. He's looking for any sign of the enemy, right? We see the Scizor and the Comfey come in. That means he's going to float around here to make sure that there's 2 enemies that don't just jump into that Rayquaza pit for free. He's keeping vision on them so his team knows where they're coming from. They're coming from the top side and he's panning over. He knows where the fight's breaking out because his team is in a 4v3 because that Scizor wasn't there prior. He uses that Unite move. Look at how he lines it up with those skills. Absolutely insane. His team holds the fort and he's able to come in there, do the extreme burst damage, and their team gets the ace, rips the Rayquaza, and wins the game. Now, if you have learnt a thing or two about how to play the top lane, and especially watching how Overlord plays the top lane, and found some of the explanation of why he does that, make sure you give this video a like. Maybe consider subscribing so you can learn a little bit more how to play on these particular roles. And most importantly, watch Overlord play. This content that I'm streaming here is directly from his Twitch stream. Absolutely go and check it out. I love watching this guy play. I'm always learning so much about how Overlord can win his games.